Well, hello everyone, and welcome to From Handout to Hands On, the 5 Minute Genially Hack. My name is James Flaskamp, and I am Genially's community builder for the US and Canada. I am so happy to see you all here today, and I'm really excited to share some really cool stuff with you. If you've ever opened one of your folders and found files named final final two, and final use this one, I think you're absolutely in the right place. And I feel your pain, by the way, because today we're not starting over, right? You already have the handouts, the worksheets, the slide decks, review guides, classroom resources, you name it, filled with perfectly good content, right? They may not need to be replaced, they may just need a better job, right? So here's today's challenge. We're going to take one traditional resource and we're going to turn it into one quick genially learning moment. Okay, not an entire course, not a 30-page escape room that consumes your whole weekend, though I have to say I've done that before. This is called a 5 minute hack. So it's going to be just as much about the speed of the transformation as it is about the transformation itself. Okay. So before we get started, I want you to tell me in the chat, what is one classroom resource that you use year after year that could use an upgrade? Interested to see what you have there. So worksheets, procedures, vocabulary lists, syllabi, review guides. What sorts of things are you thinking about here today? I want you to definitely have some ideas in your mind as to what you might want to genialize, because yeah, you're going to have the opportunity to do that. So yeah, lots of stuff out there, lots of resources out there that could use an upgrade. You know, somewhere out there, I think I just heard a student start snoring, as a matter of fact. Now, okay, so I want you to keep one of those resources in mind because you're going to have a chance to start genializing it today. Okay, now here is my extremely glamorous starting point. Okay, an absence procedures handout. It contains useful information, right? Students need to know how to find missed work, how to get help, and how to turn everything in, right? The handout has done nothing wrong. But what does it ask students to do? It asks students to read it. That's it, right? Read this list, remember it forever, and definitely don't ask me tomorrow whether we did anything while you were gone, right? I can't imagine anyone's ever had that happen to you before. Yes, child, we did in fact do something, right? So instead of explaining the procedure one more time, let's give students a chance to practice it, right? And I want you to try it out too. So I want you to check out the link in the chat. Okay, we're going to be putting that in the chat for you, and it's going to take you here to this genially that you're seeing on my screen. Okay, you were absent, now what? Okay, so here's the setup, right? You were absent yesterday, you walk into class, everyone seems to know what's happening, and you need to catch up without falling behind again, right? And so in this process, you're going to make three decisions. Where do you find the missed work? What do you do when part of it doesn't make sense? And once you finish it, how do you turn it in? So go ahead. Let's see how well you've learned my absence procedures in the past 30 seconds. Let's see how well you do with this. Give you about 30 more seconds. Wondering if anybody's getting a perfect score here. So, okay, what changed from the original handout to the Genially that I just showed you, right? That you just experienced. It wasn't the content, right? It's still the same absence procedure. What changed was the learner's job, right? Students didn't just read the steps. They made decisions, they saw what happened, and they practiced working through the process, right? That's the goal. We aren't adding clicks because clicks are exciting, right? If students tap something and nothing changes in their thinking, then really all we're doing is just giving them exercise for their index finger, right? The interaction needs to make them do something meaningful with the content, right? So that's the question, the big question actually, that I want you to keep in mind today. How can I change the learner's job? How can I change the learner's job? Well, here's how we can do it. The 5-minute hack, as advertised here, right? The 5-minute hack has 3 steps to it: prime, punctuate, and publish. Okay. First, you're going to prime the content. This is where you set the student's brain for success. Your job here is to minimize cognitive load and provide the necessary context before you get to the main task. And you can throw in some narrative hooks and things like that to immerse your students, right? Now, second, you're going to punctuate it with a meaningful interaction. Okay, so you're going to add one or more moments that make students explore, decide, apply, retrieve, sort, compare, respond, and build in immediate feedback. That's really important that the students get that immediate feedback. You don't want them getting all the way to the end of the activity, with the wrong thinking in place. We want to get that immediate feedback to them. And then finally, we publish it. We preview it, we test it, we make sure it's accessible and functional and ready to share with students, right? And as we work through these 3 steps today, we're going to keep it very, very simple, okay? 1 learning goal, 1 meaningful interaction, 1 check for understanding, okay? That's it. You make the instructional decision. Genially helps you build it quickly. So instead of spending, another 10 minutes talking about how this works, let's actually do it, okay? Here's the 5-minute hack in action as it was used to build the Genially that you just experienced, okay? So now my learning goal is already clear, okay? I want students to practice what to do after an absence without needing me to walk them through the procedure, right? That's my goal. And keep in mind what you're about to see. This can apply to any goal, any learning goal, right? That's just the one that I picked. And so now remember our question though, our key question: how can I change the learner's job? Instead of reading the procedure, they're going to make decisions with it. Okay? 5 minutes. There's going to be a timer on the screen. Let's see if I can get it. Here we go. All right, so here's the 5-minute hack. I'm starting by choosing a template from the branching scenarios section of our template library, okay? This one looks good right here, so I'm going to use it. Now, when it pops into my editor, I'm going to start adapting the content right from the start, changing text and images, moving things around a bit, like, what you would normally do with a template, okay? And so, yeah, I'm going to replace that image on the front screen, find an image of a student. Since it's kind of a horizontal aspect ratio, pick this photo here. Looks like it'll work. And then I'll double click on the photo, drag it down a little just to make it fit the frame a little bit better. And there we go. I already have a title page. Cool. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is add a page for the activity and open the AI builder. Okay. Now, what you're going to see here is where this is where I'm going to paste my prepared prompt. So I'm just clearing out some space here. I'm going to go into the builder and I'm going to paste my prepared prompt. Now, where did this prompt come from? Okay, well, I uploaded my absence procedures handout that you saw to ChatGPT. I explained what I wanted and I asked it for a Genially AI Builder prompt. Okay, but feel free to use the AI of your choice. It doesn't have to be any particular tool, or you can simply refine your prompt directly in the builder. Because I don't know if you knew that you can actually have conversations with the AI Builder without just automatically jumping into creation. So you can ask questions and refine it. Now, keep in mind, the learning here came from me, not from the AI, right? I'm not outsourcing my instructional design to a text box. I'm using the text box to build the thing that I already decided that students need. Okay, so this first one is simply just a 3-tab infographic, essentially, that basically communicates the info from the handout, right, to set the stage for the branching scenario. And so now I go on to the next page, and the next page is where we create the actual branching scenario. So again, I paste my prompt, and now we wait. And while it works, one important part of the prompt that I do want to mention, I asked it for consequences, not just correct and try again. Okay, because this isn't a quiz, it's a branching scenario, right? If a student asks a classmate to send the worksheet, the result here isn't a giant red X. They get the worksheet, but not the directions, not the lesson materials. They don't get the deadline, right? That's more useful feedback because it shows in the real world why the established procedure works better. Okay, so here it is doing the coding. This one is a little bit more involved than the last one, as you can imagine. So it's coding that branching scenario. And then we are going to see our little preview and drop it directly into the Genially. So here we go. We're going to insert it into the creation. And there we go. Looks good. All right. So now I move on to the next page, which this is the page. This next page is going to have the native interactive question. Okay. So in this case, it's just going to be an open response question that acts as a final knowledge check to determine whether the student understands the entire procedure. Okay. So I start by making a couple of adjustments to the images and the text, just like I did on the first page. So yeah, just putting in image of a teacher there, changing it up, putting the headline, put it all together, adjusting the text just a little bit, and putting in the sort of the setup for it, right? Almost a mini priming here. It's not a big narrative setup here. It's pretty straightforward. You had a doctor appointment, had to miss class as a result, right? Just kind of, instead of just asking the question, right, which is kind of boring, we're going to put the students into a scenario, a simple scenario that's realistic. Okay, so we do that, and then I'm going to clear out the space on the right-hand side, okay, and make some space for my question. There we go. Get rid of that. And now I'm going to go to my interactive questions, and I'm going to choose open response. I'm here at the bottom. And now, since I have a dark background, I'm going to go into the edit menu and I'm going to change my design to fit that. There we go. And now I'm going to type my prompt. So here's our prompt. Walk through everything you would do to catch up, from finding the missed work to submitting it. Include what you would do if part of the assignment didn't make sense. Okay, so that looks ready to go. All right, now, all that's left is one last page just to let them know that they're done, tell them nice job, give them a chance to go back to the beginning if they want to start over. So I just duplicate the title page and take care of that and change that to a home page or a home button that goes back to the first page. And there we go. Stop the timer. All right. 5 minutes and 19 seconds. Sorry, it took a little bit too long, but hopefully you can forgive my 19 seconds. So here we go. Now I'm looking this over. I'm checking 3 things. Do the choices work? Does the story keep moving? Could a student figure this out without me standing beside them narrating every click, right? I'm not checking here to see whether every pixel is perfect. Functional first, fancy later, right? So, okay, so it seems as I'm going through here and checking it that the instructions are clear. The interactions seem to work. Nothing's wandering off the side of the screen. And so I think we're ready to publish, right? So from here, I can share the link. I can post a QR code. I can assign it through my LMS, or I can launch it with Present and Play Live. So there it is. No redesign marathon, no blank canvas staring contest, right? We primed the content, punctuated it with a meaningful activity, and then published something students can actually use. And most importantly, we changed the learner's job, right? Okay, so now that you've seen the hack, let's look at the different ways that you could build yours. Okay. The goal is not to use as many Genially features as possible. The goal is to choose the shortest sensible route from what you already have to what your students need. Okay. So here's the easiest way to think about it. Okay. If you have source material, but you're not sure what the finished resource should look like, try Generate with AI. Okay. You can describe what you need or upload something you already have, including a PDF like that absence handout, and Genially uses that source to create an editable first draft, right? Keep in mind, the PDF is used as a reference rather than a literal conversion. So you always want to check and review the content before you share it. Okay. Now, I uploaded that absence handout and I asked Genially to turn it into a short, student friendly learning experience. And here, what you see on the screen is what it created. And I promise you, I did not edit this. This is nothing, I didn't do any manual editing. This is just what came directly out of Generate with AI. So I'm going to click through it here a little bit and you can kind of see the finished result because, yeah, watching a bunch of loading screens, not the best use of our hour together, right? So Generate with AI is giving me the structure, right? The layout, some of the interactions, the starting content. It looks pretty good, right? And so, yeah, submit work. Cool. And of course, I'm going to go through, check this, make sure it jives with my handout, right? And then there's a little knowledge check assessment. Okay. At the end, we have a sorting. Well, this is a pretty simple one, right? I might adjust this one slightly, but yeah, there's a sorting task. Okay. And then we have true false. Okay. So yeah, I joined today's lesson before catching up on me. Cool. There we go. And awesome. Yeah, I got 2 out of 2 and I'm ready to succeed. So there we go. That's Generate with AI, right? Structure, layout, starting content. And from there, you can edit anything you want. So anything you saw there on the screen, you can go into the editor and you can edit it and make it what you need. Now, if you already know the format or the experience that you want, then you might consider starting with a template instead. Right. So, if you know Genially, we have tons of templates, 1,500 plus templates. So you're likely to find something that'll work for what you're trying to do. Right. The design in this case is handled, the structure's waiting, and you can get straight to the useful part. Right now you need to ask what should students do here that they couldn't do with the original resource, and you may be able to find some templates that automatically build in some of those components. Okay. Now, if you need a custom interaction that has, connected decisions or branching or specific feedback that you want to be able to provide, then the AI builder can help build that, right? And that's what I used, right? So that's why you end up with, there's the example that you just saw earlier, you were absent, now what? Good example of using the AI builder because we did it a couple times there, as you saw, right? Now, if a ready-made activity, though, gets the job done, that's even better. You can use AI components, right? So when you go into that components menu on the left, you see all these ready-made components, right? These are ones that our creative team has already put together for you, and you can insert those directly into your creation. No AI credits necessary, and be able to use that component. So no blank screen there, no elaborate prompt necessary, no existential crisis over where to put the button, none of that stuff, right? And finally, if you want students to commit to a response that you can then review afterward, then you'll use an interactive question. So you go into those interactive questions and you have a bunch of them to choose from, right? And so for our absence resource, I ended up using a combination of these, right? I used a template to start with. I used AI Builder for the info page and for the branching scenario. And then I used one native interactive question, the open response question at the end. Practice, then evidence. That's all I needed. in this case, right? You don't get bonus points for squeezing every Genially feature into one project. So choose the feature that does the job. All right? All right. So now it's time for you to try this. Okay. So, what I want you to do is choose one resource that you already have, maybe something that's right there on your computer right now, right? Maybe it's a worksheet, a slide deck, a diagram, an image, um, reading passage, right? Procedure, study guide, whatever else has been sitting patiently in that folder on your computer waiting for something fun to happen. Pick that thing, whatever that is. Now, you're not building your masterpiece today. Okay, we don't have time to create masterpieces. You are creating one useful interactive moment. Okay, so remember, one learning goal, one meaningful interaction, one check for understanding. Okay, start with prime. How will you communicate the learning goal and provide that necessary context before the primary task? Then you go to punctuate. What should students do with that information? Could they explore something? Could they make a decision? Could they find evidence or sort examples, compare two ideas, apply what they've learned? All those things. Ask yourself throughout that process, how am I changing the learner's job? Okay. And finally, publish. Do your students have accessibility needs to keep in mind? And how will students access it, right? Is it going to be a link, a QR code, LMS assignment, a live session? Choose the starting point, choose the publishing method that makes the most sense for you. And when it comes to the components that you build into your creation, choose what makes sense, right? Use Generate with AI if you need help creating a complete first draft. Choose a template if it's something that you kind of already know the format you want. Use AI Builder if you need something custom. Choose an AI component if a ready-made activity gets the job done. And if you need to collect a response, then consider an interactive question. Okay, so I am going to give you about 10 minutes to start building. And I just want to be very clear about what counts as success here. I want to manage expectations here, right? You do not need a polished, finished resource by the end of these 10 minutes, right? If you leave this work time with a clear learning goal, an interaction idea, maybe you click around the interactivity a little bit, find something that works for you, right? And maybe a rough first version, then that counts, guys. That's great. Okay. So remember, one learning goal, one meaningful interaction, one check for understanding. Go. I'm going to play some work music for you, and I'll have a countdown timer on the screen as well, starting now. Okay. So you have about 10 minutes. And I'll also feel free to put them in the chat. The Genially team is in there, and I am too. So I'm happy to help out as you're working. Now this is the time too. If you're brand new to Genially, you've never used Genially before, this could be a time where you're just simply exploring a little bit, right? That's fine too. Totally fine. The account's free. Go to genially.com. You can sign up for free. And you can get started if you've never used it before. We're watching that chat. If you're watching live and you have any questions at all, feel free to throw those in the chat. We are watching and happy to help. Okay, now we are about halfway through our time, so quick pulse check. Just put a 1 in the chat if you've primed your content already, or you're in that part of the process. Put a 2 in the chat if you're punctuating it right now. Put a 3 if you are already testing or publishing. That's a star student right there if you're already doing that. And if things have gone completely sideways, feel free to put a potato, okay? We'll know what you mean. A little less than 5 minutes remaining. All right, I see we have some people in the prime stage. We have Miss Pack is in the punctuated stage. Nice, nice. Coming up on 3 minutes remaining to work. Remember, success will look different for everyone here, depending on where you are. Sandra, I see you have your syllabus, but you don't know where to insert it. Yeah, when you go into the AI builder or into your generate with AI, right? You'll see a little plus sign, and that's where you can add in your PDF, your file, or you can just copy and paste the text into that text window as well. It works either way. Oh no, we have our first potato. It's okay, Brenda. You'll be okay. We've all been there. Sometimes it takes a little practice and a little bit of time. About 2 minutes remaining. Oh, we've got somebody with a tomato now. All right. I'm not sure what that means. I hope that's a good thing. All right, 1 minute remaining. Again, does not need to be a masterpiece. Does not even need to be finished. It's taking the first steps is fine and dandy. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, there we go. That is the end of our 10 minutes, right? Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Yeah, if those 10 minutes flew by, that's okay. That's okay, right? And like I said, you don't have to have it completely finished and perfect and looking like a masterpiece. Even just getting through part of the thinking process is totally fine, right? Now, so let's come back together. And just a quick reminder before you publish, right? It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work, right? So when you're ready to publish, here's your checklist. Can students understand the directions? Does the interaction behave the way you expect? Can they use it on the device that they'll actually have in their hands? And will their response tell you anything useful? If yes, then you're ready to publish. Now, for something you want to facilitate synchronously, then you'll choose present and play live. Okay. For a self-paced activity, you can share the link or QR code, embed it into your LMS, or use whatever distribution method makes the most sense for your class. Okay. Now, for present and play live, if you were to do that, students would be able, if you haven't used this before, students would be able to join from their own devices, right? While you control the pages, you control the questions. They can explore the regular interactions individually, while those native interactive questions, those let us compare responses as a whole group, right? You can pause after a decision, you can talk through the consequences, and then you can move forward. It lets you see right away whether the group understands the content or whether you need to revisit part of it, right? No separate polling tool, no stack of exit tickets that are slowly migrating toward the bottom of your bag. I don't know if you've ever taken your exit tickets on vacation, home and back, but nothing happens to them. I've done that a few times. The response here is already connected to the experience, right? So very, very helpful. Now, another thing that we want to be mindful of as well, this is the last part of the process that I really don't want us to miss because it's very, very important, right? The interaction isn't useful just because the students completed it. It's useful because of what their choices can tell us, right? So after a live session, I can review the session report in CSV. It'll automatically download a session report when I do a live session. Now, if I do a self-paced version, if I have individual activity enabled, then the activity dashboard, like what you're seeing here, it shows responses and progress, right? So we're looking at the activity dashboard right now. I can see how students answered. I can identify where they may need more support. And here the question isn't, did they click all the things? Completion is great, and sometimes that's all we're looking for, all we need, but it doesn't tell me much by itself, right? The better question is, what did their choices show me? If several students still think the best strategy for my absence procedures, for instance, is to wait for the teacher to reteach yesterday's entire lesson, well, I know exactly which part of my procedure might need a little bit more attention, right? So the cycle is really interaction, evidence, instructional decision, right? The activity gives students practice. The dashboard helps me decide what to do next. And that's when the interaction earns its place. Okay. Now, so we've got a few minutes for questions. So, what are you trying to build? What worked? What got weird? Ask me about the three P's, about any of the stuff I've shown you: AI builder prompts, choosing between generate with AI and a template, interactive questions, how to publish, different publishing methods, adapting the process to your own content, any of that stuff. You can also finish this sentence in the chat. I'm turning my blank into a blank. Just share it with everybody. Let everybody know what you're working on. What are you transforming? What are you genializing right now? So yeah, feel free to put those in the chat, and I will be happy to answer those live if you have any of those questions, those burning questions that you want to ask right now. Of course, if you don't want to ask live in the chat, you're more than welcome to shoot me some questions later, right? You'll be able to follow. You can follow me on socials, Genially James. You can send me an email. I'll have that on the final screen as well. So yeah, either way, whatever works, I'm just happy to help. Now, here are a few other ways this could work. Okay, while I'm waiting to see if there are any other questions that come up. Think about, like I said, this isn't just something that works for absence procedures, right? Think about something like, say, if you're a science teacher, a lab safety sheet handout that becomes a safety scenario. You put the students into a scenario. Maybe a vocabulary list is going to become a sorting or a matching challenge of some sort, right? Maybe a reading passage becomes an evidence hunt with hotspots, interactive hotspots in there, right? A worked math problem becomes an error analysis activity, something like that. Or a digital citizenship handout becomes a decision story, right? Same content, but better job for the learner, right? And so, all right, I'm seeing a couple things in the chat. I'm trying to turn my syllabus in an interactive way, not just reading. Yeah, okay, that's awesome, Sandra. Yeah, I have a Genialize That episode actually about an interactive syllabus. If you want to check that out, it's on my YouTube and on socials. I'm making, let's see, Miss Pack, I'm making my word search interact. Awesome. That's very cool. Yeah. And by the way, any of this stuff that you create, if you're proud of it, share it. Share it on our Genially community, right? community.genially.com. We have an awesome community of over like 250,000 people or so that are on there. Share it with me. Send it to me directly. I love seeing the awesome stuff that our community is creating. I really, really love it. Okay, before we kind of wrap up, and again, if there are any other questions, feel free to throw them in. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat here. But before we go, I just want to kind of bring it back to the three Ps, right? Prime, punctuate, publish. Whatever that content is, prime that content you already have, provide that context, minimize the cognitive load, have a little bit of fun in the process, right? Punctuate it with purposeful interactions that make students think and provide that immediate feedback to them as well, right? So it's as useful as possible. And then publish it. Publish it in whatever form you need, and pay attention to how your students respond, okay? Please do not leave here and attempt to convert your entire Google Drive by tomorrow morning. Right? Not realistic. Pick one resource, not five, just one. Give students one meaningful thing to do with it. Put it in front of them and see what happens, right? And before you close this tab, decide which resource you're going to genialize first. If you haven't made that decision yet, that's the first step. Which resource needs to be genialized? What needs to be upgraded? What can you use this 5-minute hack to make better for your students? Ask yourself that question. I've said it over and over and over again, right? How can I change the learner's job? Turn them from being that passive receiver of information into an active explorer of the content. Okay, you can do that with Genially. That's why I love Genially so much. That's why I fell in love with Genially in the first place, because you can do that and you can do it very quickly in a lot of cases, right? So awesome. Now, if you want to keep creating beyond today's hack, right? And I think I even saw some people asking about, AI credits and things like that. Yeah, the number of AI credits you have depends on your plan, right? And so, something that's happening right now, if you haven't noticed on the Genially site already, for our Back to Class campaign, our Genius plans, one of our premium plans for teachers, are 60% off right now. This is the least expensive I have ever seen this plan, and it's an awesome plan. It includes so much great stuff that you're able to use with your students. The stuff that you're seeing me use here, you can, use all of those things and then some with a Genius plan, right? It's only available. This 60% off is only for a limited time, though, as part of our Back to Class campaign. So I would say if you've been thinking about it, you've been thinking about unlocking more ways to create and interact and engage with your students, then I would say take a look before that offer ends for sure. Your next great learning experience doesn't necessarily need to be rebuilt from scratch, right? It may already be sitting in one of those folders, right? I encourage you to participate in the Genially community. If you haven't already registered, community.genially.com. Get on there, register. That's where you'll find more of these webinars. You'll find more of these different design challenges that we're doing, like our summer challenge that's about to wrap up. And hey, if you're sitting out there and you're like, man, I love Genially, I use it all the time, I tell people about it all the time, maybe you should think about becoming a Genially ambassador. We have an incredible group of Genially ambassadors that I have the privilege of being able to manage. And if you're interested in becoming one of those ambassadors, you can apply. Just scan that QR code right there, or reach out to me if you have any questions. Reach out via email, james.ext@genially.com. Reach out to me on socials. I'm Genially James on most social platforms, and I would love to connect to you. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful school year. Now go forth and genialize.